Howdy people, how we doing? So this video is going to be just a tier list of in-game viability for Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, so the remakes of Red and Blue Gen 1. I have a tier list with all the pre-evolutions along with any branching evolutions like the evolutions. What this basically is going to be is how useful any of these Pokemon could be on a team to beat the game, make it to the Hall of Fame. It doesn't have to be as fast as possible, it just has to be, I guess, as efficient as possible. Losing the least amount of Pokemon, or having the least amount of feints in the shortest amount of time would be the best way to put it. So, yeah, here we go. Alright, well, so I'll just go through the tiers actually real quick. So you got the post-game tier, which is Mewtwo, because it's only available in the post-game. It's your reward for beating the game. The busted tier is a Pokemon that significantly helps any team in any situation, just like can make the game a little bit too easy. The great tier is just like very good stats, good moves, good contribution to any team. Decent is like useful with decent stats, maybe a decent move pool, but not game breaking. The bleh tier is kind of just like if you like a Pokemon's design, and you have other good team members, you can work with it, but it's probably not your best bet. And then awful is like avoid unless you're trying to challenge yourself, basically. Awful is awful. Alright, let's get started with the Bulbasaur line, which is Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, Venusaur. In Fire and Leaf Green, I would say great. Not busted. Unlike in Red and Blue, you don't have free crits with Razor Leaf, but, still a really good Pokemon. Grass Poison isn't the best typing, but it's super useful in the beginning of the game, as well as some of the later fights like Giovanni and Lorelei. You can get powder moves, you can get Razor Leaf, you can get Leech Seed, a lot of good moves. There's a lot to like. There's much more to like than to dislike. But yeah, not quite busted, even though it's a starter. Next is the Charizard line, which starts with Charmander, obviously. Charmander is definitely better than it was in the original games because it gets Metal Claw, which can really help with the first gym. It gets Dragon Claw, which can help you do with Lance. Well, it doesn't get it by level up, but you can teach it the TM towards the end of the game. It gets Fly, which it only got in Yellow in Generation 1. Generally just better overall than it was, but still not better than Bulbasaur by any stretch. Still a great addition to the team. You get it really early. Obviously, it's a starter. That goes for all the starters. All the early Pokemon are going to have an advantage just because of how much you can use them. But, yeah, Charmander is solid. And then Squirtle, I would say, is better. The Blastoise line in general is better than these two, but not busted. Honestly, I don't know if anything is... No, there will definitely be at least a couple of Pokemon in busted, but when the starters are all in, like, the not busted tier, that means it's probably a pretty well-balanced game. Anyway, the Squirtle line, Squirtle is good. Squirtle is great. Decent move pool, decent stats, but water types are just good in general. The beginning of the game isn't too bad, the middle of the game isn't too bad, and then the end of the game, Blastoise kind of turns on the jets, so to speak. You get Surf, which just kind of washes away half of the Pokemon you're going to face. The last two gyms can be single-handedly won with Squirtle or with Blastoise, so you're not going to have much trouble. Alright. So if Caterpie were available in any other part of the game, I would put it in awful, but I'm going to put it in bleh, just because it can be useful for the first gym. If you get it to Butterfree, you can spread some status, maybe use Confusion, but in Fire and Leaf Green, Brock's Onyx has Rock Tomb. So yes, there's some utility, but it's really just get a sleep powder off, hope it hits, and otherwise you're dead, even from an Onyx, I would think, unless you grind it up a decent bit. But it's not the worst thing in the world. It'll probably be towards the bottom of the Bleh tier when it's all said and done, but because it's available super early and it can be used, it's fine enough. Weedle is going to go behind Caterpie in the Bleh category. It's not useful at the beginning of the game like Butterfree is, but Beedrill, it gets Twin Needle, it gets Pin Missile, you can get it Sword Stance, I believe, by level. Actually, it might be. I might be wrong. If you can't get Sword Stance, then it's definitely an awful tier. Actually, I'm gonna just check that right now. Beedrill. Okay, it doesn't get Sword Stance. Okay. So, this thing sucks. Twin Needle and Brick Break are like, and maybe Aerial Ace. Does it get Aerial Ace? Yeah, it gets Aerial Ace. Are really your only viable offensive options. The Sludge Bomb TM, unfortunately for a lot of these poison types, doesn't come until the post-game. So, Beedrill has not good enough attack to be useful later on in the game. Like, I've tried to make it work before. It really hasn't. The only reason I thought it was maybe in Bleh was because of Sword Stance, but that's only available as a TM in Gen 1, where you can Gym Leader stat boost glitch with Sword Stance, but no. Without that, no chance. Pidgey and the Pidgeot line, gonna go in Bleh, definitely above Caterpie, but it's just a run-of-the-mill, overrated and outclassed flying type. See, here's another thing. If a Pokemon has absolutely no reason to be used over a different Pokemon of like the same archetype, then it's going to either be in Bleh or awful, just kind of depending on when you get it, what its stats look like, and what its moves look like. Like, you're gonna teach it Fly and maybe Return, and there are multiple other lines that can just do that better. Like, yes, you get it early, but you get Spearow or Route later. Let's be real. Spearow is much better than Pidgey would ever be. So, Pidgey and the Pidgeot line, Bleh, for sure. Alright, Rattata. Goes in decent. Raticate is kind of a monster early on with some of the like general trainers. After Brock, where you can't really use Rattata, you can Hyper Fang, Super Fang, like, you can get a good amount of damage. You can try and abuse Guts, which I believe it gets in this generation. I'm gonna check that, though, because I don't want to be looking like a fool. Yeah, Runaway and Guts, so make sure it has Guts, because Runaway is not that useful. But if it has Guts, you can use that, and it can become pretty powerful, but it gets outclassed later on. So this might be a Pokemon where you say, okay, I'll use it up until the Celadon Gym, where other options become available to me for normal attacking. But it's still a decent Pokemon. Like, the stats aren't really there, but early on, it's good. Spearow is gonna sit behind the starters in the Great tier. Spearow, you're going to want to keep it a Spearow. It evolves to level 20, but keep it a Spearow until level 25, because that's when it learns Aerial Ace, when Spearow just doesn't learn it at all. Very weird thing for the Pokemon Company to do. Anyway, Spearow is fantastic. Spearow is great. Good attack, good speed, decent moves. I mean, it's got what you need. It gets Aerial Ace. You can teach it Fly. You can teach it Return. It's just a better Pidgey with a better move pool and better stats. Like, this is what it should have just been the starting bird, because later on in Pokemon games, the starting birds are actually good, like the Swellow, Staravia, Unpheasants of the world, Talonflame too, but Pidgey is just not one of those. Spearow is. So Spearow kind of takes the mantle of the good bird in Kanto. Alright. Ekans and Arbok. I'll put it in Bleh. I'll put it at the top of Bleh, just because it gets Intimidate, which is a good ability. It gets Glare, but it really doesn't have great Poison Stab that it can take advantage of. It doesn't really have a great attack stat. It has poor stats all the other ways around. Like, it's not awful. It's usable in the right situation, but it's not. You're not going to have the easiest time with it, for sure. Alright, Pikachu, I'm going to put at the top of decent. It can help a lot with Misty early on. It's not going to be useful for Brock, but you get it in Viridian Forest. It's pretty useful for that fight. Raichu is a decent electric type. Like, it's fast. It gets Thunderbolt by level up, which in this game is, like, a little bit more important. Because the Thunderbolt TM is a pain in the butt. But it still gets outclassed later on, but it's still not bad. Like, you can definitely use Raichu successfully in a run, like, throughout the entirety of the run. But there are going to be better options later on, for certain. Like, you just have to have a little bit of patience getting the Thunderbolt TM, and immediately there are 3 or 4 better electric type lines than Raichu. Like, its only leg up is that you get Thunderbolt by level up. Sandshrew and Sandslash. I'm gonna put at the bottom of decent. Just because the stats are good. It has solid attack and defense, which is what you want out of a ground type. It doesn't get Earthquake by level up, though. It gets Sand Tomb, I believe, is its best level up ground type move, which is just not, that's not good enough. But if you can get it the Earthquake TM, it's definitely a solid choice for a ground type. You get it pretty early on. You can use it against Lieutenant Surge, obviously. It'll still be useful for Blaine, battles like that. It doesn't really stand out, but it's not bad either. Nidoran female is going to go at the bottom of the great tier. So, Nidoqueen and Nidoking in Generation 1 in Red and Blue were monstrosities. Like, if you gave them the tools, like, they were in the busted tier, for sure. But nowadays, it's not quite that simple for them. Just because the availability of the Ice Beam TM and the Blizzard TM, Blizzard being a worse move, things like that, definitely hold it back. No Poison Stab, obviously. But Body Slam is a good all-purpose move. It's a little bit more defensive than its male counterpart, but Nidoqueen is solid. And then Nidoking, I can't put it in busted, but it's definitely the best Pokemon we've talked about so far. You slap Earthquake on it, you get it Mega Horn pretty late in its moveset for the Elite Four, and it is gonna have a fun time. But the stats just leave a little bit to be desired. They actually gave it a buff of 10 extra points to its base attack in, I think, Gen 6. If it had had that, it might be in busted tier, but it's just not quite strong enough. It doesn't deal quite enough damage, but it is super, like, you can get Nidoking in Mount Moon, which is crazy early for a Pokemon of that caliber. It's just not quite good enough to be a busted tier Pokemon. Clefairy, I'll put at the top of decent. I would say Clefairy, it gets access to a lot of good moves through TM. And it has decent... I'm actually going to put it below Pikachu and Raichu. It gets access to a good amount of moves through TM, not really through level up. You can get Clefable as early as you want, but unless you're running just all special attacks, you probably want to wait. It's just okay. It's nothing too crazy. Vulpix. I would say the top of decent, probably. Not great, but Ninetales has a solid special attack and special defense stat spread. If you can get it Flamethrower, it's just going to be like a solid fire type. Not the best in the game, not the worst in the game, but Definitely can contribute successfully to a team. Not a huge move pool, but it can get like Confuse Ray and Will-O-Wisp. Good status spread moves. But yeah, not a bad Pokemon by any means. Jigglypuff and Wigglytuff, awful. Definitely better than Weedle, but not more useful than Butterfree. Bad stats. Good HP, but just bad all the other ways around. Not a great move pool, kind of similar to Clefairy, but with a little bit less utility and a little bit less moves. Like, it can't take advantage of the special attack TMs that you can give it. And, like, it gets Rollout, Body Slam, maybe. It's just, there is no reason to use Jigglypuff. Clefairy is just a better version of Jigglypuff with a little bit less HP and better stats all the way around. All the other ways around. Alright, Zubat. Also going to go in awful. If this was any other region, it would be at least in decent, probably in great tier, but Golbat sucks. Golbat is nothing compared to Crobat. It's like 40 points slower. It has paper defenses. Not a decent typing, but not good enough to pull it up to anything but awful. Like, it's just really not a usable Pokemon in these games, in the end game. Like, you get it in Mount Moon, you get it pretty early. It's useful for Erica, and that's probably it. And there are so many other flying types that are more useful for Erica. So there's really just no reason to have a Golbat on your team, unless you like the design, obviously. That goes for all of these. Like, if you like the design, you can make it work. Just know that it's going to be a pain in the ass a little bit for a lot of them. Alright, sorry about my sniffling. I'm having some seasonal allergies. Oddish, Gloom, Vileplume. I'm going to put it at the top of decent. I think it has a lot of uses. It's a grass type, and it gets, you know what, no, it gets outclassed in pretty much every way by Venusaur. But you know what, if you start with Squirtle or Charmander, it can be a good Venusaur substitute. So I'll leave it at the top of decent, but it's just not quite as good as Venusaur. Fills kind of the same roles. You can use it for everything you can use Venusaur for besides Brock's Gym. But there's still plenty of use there. It's good against Misty, it's good against Surge, good against Giovanni and Lorelei. You know, like, it's not a bad Pokemon. But it's just not quite it doesn't have enough tools to get it over that hump. Paris. Oh boy, yeah. One of the worst typings in Pokemon history. You know what? No, I'll put it above Weedle and Jigglypuff. One of the worst typings in Pokemon history. 2 quad weaknesses. Like, that's so bad. No real stab to take advantage of its 90 base attack. There aren't good bug type moves that aren't learned by only Beedrill in this game, and Grass is obviously a special type. I'll just explain the physical special split. So before Gen 4, which these games are Gen 3, certain types would just be locked into being either special attacks or physical attacks. So grass type moves are always going to be special attacks, whereas like bug type moves and poison type moves are always going to be physical attacks. And then when Diamond and Pearl came out, they changed it so that every single move would either be special, physical, or a status move, regardless of their type. So, yeah, no grass stab can be useful. No bug stab can be useful. It gets Slash and Spore. Spore is the only reason I put it above Jigglypuff and Weedle, but just not really all that usable. No cheap Slash crits either. Like with Bulbasaur in Gen 1. No easy Slash crits. Alright, Venonat and Venomoth, I feel like they're super overrated. I'll put it above Caterpie, in Blah. But it's just like, it evolves pretty late. It gets some cool moves, but there's really no reason to use it over an Oddish or a Bulbasaur. Like, it doesn't get Bug Stab that it can use. It's a special attacker. You can teach it Psychic, but there are so many other Pokemon that take way more advantage of Psychic. No, it's not good. It's not good. It's not good enough to be anywhere near the decent tier, but it's only not an awful because it has some use, and it's just like its stats aren't bad enough to put down there. Let's see. Diglett and Dugtrio are super, super good. I'm tempted to put it in Busted, but I think it's too frail, so I'm gonna put it right there. You can get a Dugtrio at like level 28 or 29 before the third gym battle. I don't know why they kept that in the remakes, but it's pretty easy to destroy Lieutenant Surge just by walking into Diglett's tunnel and running around for a few minutes and grabbing a Dugtrio. It'll already have Magnitude. You can teach it Dig. It ends up learning Earthquake later on. Like, this thing is insanely good. It's insanely fast. It has a very, like, solid attack stat. It can take advantage of it. Pure Ground is a good typing in this generation, except for against Lorelei, probably. That's probably the only battle where it's kind of useless. Maybe against Sabrina, too, because it's got low special defense, but very good Pokemon. Definitely can maybe not carry a team, but can do some serious damage for a team. Meowth and Persian. Very bad. Very, very bad. Probably, yeah, I'll put it there. It's super fast, which is the only thing it has going for it. If anybody has ever seen Chugga Conroy's Let's Play of Fire Red and Leaf Green, he used a Persian on his team, and it was terrible. It was useless throughout the entire thing. It was definitely the worst Pokemon out on that playthrough team. And part of the reason is because it doesn't have a good enough attack stat to be an attacker. It's just fast. You can teach it, like, Toxic, maybe, spread some status that way. It gets Payday, which is cool. It's just completely, like, overshadowed by other normal types if you really want to use a normal type. Like, if you want specifically a fast normal type, there are better options. I was going to say maybe use it, but there are better options later on. You get it early, but again, that's not an excuse for any of these Pokemon to dig themselves out of this hole when their stats are that bad. Psyduck. Kind of just a mediocre water type, but it's not bad. It's not good, but it's not bad. Its special attack stat is decently high. It's not fast. It's not really bulky. You can surf things, but it's just generally outclassed by the other water types that have other things going for them. Like, the only unique thing it has is that I think it can learn the Psychic TM, maybe? I'm gonna check that. Golduck. No, it can't even learn Psychic. It can get Ice Beam, but so can every other water type. So, it's completely outclassed by Pokemon like Slowbro, Starmie, Squirtle, almost all the water types you can think of. But it's still not, like, you can use it. It's still useful. Mankey. Ooh. Super good. I'm gonna put it right here in the great tier. You get it really early. You get it super early. You can teach it Brick Break. It gets decent fighting stab. It's super fast. It's useful against Brock, Surge, mainly Brock and Surge. Probably Lorelei too. It has good general uses on trainers throughout the game. It's a very good Pokemon. Like, it's not busted, but it can definitely do a lot of work. And it's definitely, like, it has its niche in the fighting type realm, I should say as well. Growlithe and Arcanine. Ooh. I'm gonna put Growlithe at the bottom of great. Arcanine, if you can get it Flamethrower, is a super good Pokemon. It has access to extreme speed, it has a good attack stat, it has a super, like, well-balanced stat spread. Actually, if it gets Intimidate, I might put it in Busted. Does it get Intimidate? Where did it go? It was right here. Here we go. Okay, it gets Intimidate. I'm gonna put it in Busted. So, Intimidate. Here, I'll show you its base stats too. Super good, 110 attack, 100 special attack, good bulk, super fast for this game. Gets extreme speed towards the end of its level up set. What is that design? What is that Ruby and Sapphire design? Anyway, if you can get the Flamethrower TM, great. If not, use the Firestone, like, after you get Flame Wheel, probably, because you don't want to wait too long. But definitely super, super good. Fire types are just kind of good in general. They're not great in Gen 1, but they're still definitely super useful. It doesn't really get outclassed. It's like a bulky fire type, which is kind of a rare archetype with Intimidate and its good stats. It's just whatever you have in mind for Growlithe and Arcanine, like, it can do it and do it right. Like, it was supposed to be a legendary Pokemon originally, but they demoted it to just normal Stone evolution, but they kind of left its stats as it would be if it were a legendary. Let me look at its base stat total. Oh wait, this is Growlithe still. I don't want to do the math that fast. 200, 360, 460. I mean, 555? That's crazy for a normal Pokemon. Anyway, I'll move on, because I've spent a lot of time on Growlithe. Poliwrath. It's okay. It's not quite bleh, but it has not reached its potential yet in these games. You can get it Brick Break. It doesn't have good enough special attack to use its water typing all that well, which is why it's not higher. But it's a decent bulky fighting type that resists fire and water type moves. Like, it's good, but it's not a great Pokemon. It's at the bottom of decent, because there are other water types and other fighting types that are better. But if you kind of want to combine them, it has a use. Okay, so before I get into Abra, I'm gonna say that I'm assuming, if you're playing these games in 2021, you probably have a way to make trade evolutions happen, whether you're emulating or otherwise. You can either, there's a way. Oh, okay, yeah. With the universal randomizer, you can just turn off trade evolutions. You can make them like level 40 evolutions instead. Or you can just, like, trade with another emulator on your same computer. I think there's a way to... Anyway, with that in mind, trade evolutions are a thing that can happen. So Abra equals Alakazam equals the top of great. If it was less frail, it would be busted. And if Psychic types were still the behemoths they were in Gen 1, it would 100% be busted. Alakazam is... barring Nidoking, probably, it might be better than Nidoking. It might be the best Pokemon in those games. You don't get it as early as Nidoking. You get it after the second gym, but Alakazam is an absolute monster. You teach it Calm Mind, Psychic. I mean, you can sweep any trainer in the game, probably. Psychic, Calm Mind, sweep. Like, I cannot think of a trainer that would stand a chance. Like, there are no dark types, and the ghost type specialist has all poison types, and Alakazam is faster than all of them. Alakazam is brutally fast and brutally strong, but if it doesn't kill, it's probably dead. So, yeah, it's great, but it's not quite busted. Let's see. Machamp. Machamp, you get it in Rock Tunnel. I think it's just a little bit worse than Primeape, because it is a lot stronger. Machamp is like a huge attack stat, but it's not as fast, and it doesn't get great moves. Honestly, neither of them are the best fighting types in these games anyway. You'll see who is. But very, very good. Very solid. You get it at a point where it's definitely, like, it has useful fights in it. Like, against Blaine, it's definitely useful. Bruno, it's probably got some use. Giovanni, it's definitely got some use. Lorelei. Like, there are a lot of fights where Machamp is gonna turn the opponent on their heads. But it's not quite busted just because it's slow and its move pool isn't crazy good, but definitely a great Pokemon. Okay. Bellsprout is, I would say Victory Bell is right. That's close. You know what? Because it's not really better than Venusaur, I'm going to put it in decent. If it had better Poison Stab to take advantage of with its, I think, base 100 physical attack, then it would be a great Pokemon. But because of Venusaur, it's another Venusaur substitute. Victory Bell is good. Victory Bell has good attacking stats. It has a decent move pool. It gets all the grass type like moves you would need out of Gen 1, but it's just not quite on that next level. Tentacool, I would say, is at the bottom of great. Tentacool it has a great special defense stat. It has poison typing, which is not the best in these games, but is useful in a lot of spots. You get it a little bit late, actually, so I'm gonna move it down to decent because of when you get it. But Tentacool is it's a good Pokemon. Like, you can teach it Surf and Ice Beam. It'll get the job done in terms of the special attacks, and it will soak up special hits like there's no tomorrow. Like, it just doesn't quite have the feasibility because of when you get it. And it does get outclassed by other water types. It's not the best water type in these games. Golem. Ooh. So, I'm gonna say that Golem is at the top of great. Now, actually, no. It's not better than Alakazam. But Golem, you can get Geodude super early. It gets Earthquake. It gets Rock Slide. It gets the good stab moves. Actually, it doesn't get Rock Slide, does it? Okay, it gets Rock Blast, which is not Rock Slide, but it's also not bad. It's usable rock type stab. Oh, and you can teach it Rock Slide in the move tutor in Rock Tunnel. So never mind. It's definitely where it should be. Rock Slide, Earthquake, great physical attack stat, great defense stat. It is like one of the best physical tanks in the game. Just keep it away from the grass types and the water types. It's not hard to not use it in battles where you know a water type is coming. Like, if you're on the surfing routes below Fuchsia City, don't use it. If you're pretty much anywhere else in the game, besides the Misty fight or the Erica fight, use it. It's a great Pokemon. It has this stigma of being, like, swept by water and grass types, which it is, but you just need to have situational awareness, and it gives you the tools to succeed. Ponyta, Ponyta, Ponyta. Bleh. You get it pretty late. Not pretty late. You don't get it early, though. It can't take advantage of its attack stat, really, because it's a fire type. I don't know why they made so many fire types with better physical attack than special attack. Like Growlithe, Ponyta, Flareon, which you're going to see later on. But Ponyta's just, it's so outclassed by Growlithe and any other fire type that you would want to use. There's just no reason to use it. However, it is fast. It has decent enough stats, so it doesn't go in awful. It's not an awful Pokemon. Okay, Slow Bro. Because you can't get Slow King in this game, I don't think. Unless there's a way to get King's Rock, but I'm pretty sure there's not. Even still, it might not let you evolve it. Anyway, Slow Bro, for our sake. I would say goes at the bottom of great. Slow Bro, it evolves late and you get it late, but its stats are so good. You can teach it Surf, Ice Beam, Psychic, and Flamethrower, and it virtually covers all of its bases. It's one of the best water types in the game. It's outclassed in some ways by Starmie, but it's also better than Starmie in some ways. It's better than Squirtle and Blastoise in some ways. It's better than Tentacruel in most ways. Like, it is a high level water type. It's not busted. You don't have it for a long enough time for it to be busted, but it's definitely really good. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, you don't have Growlithe long enough for it to be busted either. So, for what it is, like, it can become an Arcanine right away with Flamethrower. So actually, yeah, never mind. What am I saying? It's busted. Anyway, moving on. Magneton, also at the bottom of great, just because you can't get it until after you have Surf, and by that point, there's a better electric type in the place where you get it. But it's the only Pokemon in the game with Steel typing, which can be super useful against Koga, and it's super good against Lorelei. It's good against Sabrina. It's good against Agatha. It can be good against Lance. Like, it has a lot of uses. Actually, I'm going to move it up. It's definitely better than Nidoqueen. Probably not better than Fearow. But yeah, its typing, is great. Its really only, its only problem is ground, so just don't use it against Giovanni. But you can get it Thunderbolt. You can get it Zap Cannon Lock On, which can be a cheesy strategy, but it's a bolt machine. So it's good for that purpose, but it's not busted. It's not better than any of the Pokemon in front of it. It's just a very solid Pokemon. Okay, Farfetch'd is a joke. It's some sort of Japanese, like, ducks with leeks joke. It is a bad Pokemon. Its base stats are quite poor. If you get it a stick and teach it Slash, it has like a 25% chance of getting a critical hit, which is not good enough to justify it. But it just don't use it. Like, it's a decent HM slave that can learn Cut and Fly. It might be the only Pokemon besides Mew that can learn Cut and Fly, but other than that, it has no use. Dodrio is super good. I'm going to put it right here. I almost put it in busted, but it's not available quite early enough for that. You need the Pokeflute to get it, which is not early, but not late. Its attack is sky high. Its speed is sky high. Its move pool is great. You can give it Return, Drill Peck, Fly, whatever you fancy. What I would maybe do is use a Fearow up until Dodrio is accessible, and then just swap them out, because if you're using a Spearow and Dodrio is sitting there, like, you're wasting potential damage. Like, Dodrio is kind of just a better version of Spearow, who is a better version of Pidgey. They're all normal flying types with decent speed and attack. Dodrio's the best of the three. But yeah, Dodrio is great. Dodrio is one of my favorites in this generation. Seal. Blah. You need Surf to get it. Its special attack isn't good. It has an ice typing, which isn't actually a good thing. It just adds weaknesses on. You quad resist ice, so you can stall out Lorelei with Toxic. Like, that's really the only reason I can think to use it, but it is a water type. So I can't put it in awful, because no matter what, water types are going to be useful. Like, it can be useful against Blaine, and it can be useful against Giovanni, but there are just better water-ice types. There are better water types. There are better ice types. There are better everything that Seal could possibly be. Grimer. You need Surf to get Grimer, which is why it goes at the top of Bleh. Normally, it would be at the bottom of Great or in the middle of Decent somewhere. But you can't teach it Sludge Bomb, and you just don't get it early enough for it to be useful, and there is only one pure grass type in this game, which is the only thing that takes, well, it's not the only thing that takes super effective damage, but think about it. So you do super effective damage to Tangela, Executor, who can Psychic you and destroy you. Am I forgetting anything else? I don't think I am. I think those are the only two Pokemon you can get super effective damage on with your poison attacks, and Tangela is not in any important battles beyond Erica, and Executor destroys it. So anyway, poison types, pure poison types, just, they didn't have a good time. It's a decent defensive typing, which is why Tentacool is up where it is, but just not the generation for poison types. Even with there only being one steel type line in the game. Okay, Cloyster, I think is only available with Surf. However, it slips in right behind Slowbro, just because it has great stats. You can give it Ice Beam and Surf. It's a competent special attacker. It has colossal physical defense. It can be very useful. It doesn't really get outclassed by anything. It kind of clashes with Lapras. Like, depending on how you want to pick your poison, Lapras could be the better choice, or Shelter could be the better choice. But they're both. I can just save you some time, because it's basically the same argument for both. They both get decent utility moves. They both get good stab that they can take advantage of. They both are caught at, like, similar points in the game. You get Lapras a little bit earlier most of the time, but it's at a lower level. Yeah, just, like, decent, like, great, good enough both ways. Actually, I'm going to put them both at the top of decent, because they're not great. Slowbro is still better, just because of Psychic and Flamethrower, but both still very usable Pokemon. Gengar, okay. So, you can give Gengar Thunderbolt and Psychic and Giga Drain. That's really all you can do with it. So it takes a heavy, heavy investment to make it good. Its stats are good enough to where you have to put it in decent. I'm gonna put it below Tentacruel. I think Tentacruel has a little bit more use with a little bit less opportunity cost. It doesn't get good stab because it's a ghost poison type. Like, if this were Gen 4, it might be busted, to be quite honest, but it's just not quite good enough. I like its stats, I like its TMs, but it's over-reliant on TMs. It just can't be great if it's over-reliant on TMs. Onyx is one of the worst. Okay, actually, wait. You can get... oh, no, you can't, because of the trade thing. So, in Fire and Leaf Green, if you try to evolve a Pokemon... I just remember this. If you try to evolve a Pokemon into something that is only available in the national dex, it'll actually stop you from doing it. Like, an error message will pop up. Even if you, like, if you do a randomizer and start with a Larvitar and get it to a Pupitar level and you don't have the national dex turned on, it will not evolve. So the same goes for if you could somehow do friendship evolutions for, like, Crobat and Espeon, Poliwhirl, or Politoed, Caesar later on, and Onix into Steelix. So anyway, back to Onix. It is so goddamn garbage. You know this Oddish thing? This little thing that like not its fully evolved form. This thing. That's like a little weed plant baby. This or a giant rock snake? What do you think has higher physical attack? Oh, Onix? You think so? No. Oddish. Oddish has higher physical attack than Onix, and that's all you need to know about Onix. Garbage. Garbage, garbage, garbage. Sorry about that. Alright, Drowsy, mediocre psychic type, but it's a psychic type. Not great special attack. Weird, but decent enough move pool. But it's a psychic type. Again, there are no dark types. There are no viable ghost type moves that you have to worry about. So it can be a useful Pokemon on a team, but it gets completely outclassed by Abra and the Alakazam line. The only reason you might want to have it is because its special bulk is far better, but it's really just not great. It's decent. It's at the bottom of decent, for a reason. Okay, Krabby and Kingler is going to go at the top of bleh. So, great physical attack. Not great any other stats besides maybe physical defense. It's a water type in Gen 3 with great physical attack. It's the Kanto version of Crawdaunt and Sharpedo. Well, no, it's not, because Crawdaunt and Sharpedo have decent special attacking stats that can allow them to take advantage of Surf and Crunch. Krabby and Kingler, like, Crabhammer is a great move in theory, but it's actually a great move in Gen 4 and beyond, not Gen 3. It has so much untapped potential, but really all you can do is slap Strength and Brick Break on it, and there are so many Pokemon that can do that better. So, Krabby goes at the top of bleh, because it's still a water type with high stats. Okay, Voltorb. Electrode is super fast. I'm going to put it one spot ahead of Pikachu just because you can actually get it before you step in a rock tunnel instead of having to surf for it to the power plant. You can get it Thunderbolt. You can do Rain Dance, Thunder setups. You can do Explosion setups. Like, there are things you can do with it. It is going to go first in pretty much every battle that it's in. But there are better super fast electric types in this game, so it doesn't really have all that much of a niche. So I would say decent, but nothing special at all. All right, Exeggutor is going to go at the top of decent. If it had Grass Stab, that was really good. That wasn't Giga Drain, which has 5 PP. It would be great. It's a Safari Zone encounter. You don't get it until, 4 gyms in at least, obviously. It can be useful. You can get it, you can evolve it into Exeggutor, you can teach it Psychic, and it can fuck some shit up. But, yeah, just not great. Not a great Pokemon. It's almost there. If it had better stab moves, if it had a better move pool, it would be there, but it's just not. Okay, so this is going to surprise some people. Busted. Marowak is absolutely busted because of one thing in these games, the Thick Club. You get a Marowak, it has 80 base attack, like 120 base defense, pretty good. If you give it a Thick Club, it suddenly has outrageously high attack. It gets good ground type stab. You don't even need to use your Earthquake TM on it because of Bone Meringue. This thing destroys so many Pokemon in this game. You get it at Pokemon Tower, not too far into the game. He rips Koga to shreds. He rips Blaine to shreds. He rips pretty much like every trainer that doesn't have a levitating Pokemon or a water type or Erica to shreds. This thing is so good. It doesn't need a crazy move pool. I think it maybe gets Brick Break. Actually, let me check. Yeah, so you got Bone Meringue. You don't need to teach it Bone Rush. It's just you got Thrash, Earthquake, Iron Tail, Brick Break. I mean, Focus Punch if you want to get crazy. A Focus Punch from a Aerial Ace. A Focus Punch from a Marowak with a Thick Club is crazy. Okay, so yeah, Thick Club only 5%. It is so worth it. I mean, like, it is just so good with the Thick Club in its hand. Like, it is borderline unstoppable. It is so ridiculously good with the Thick Club. Alright, Hitmonlee. So here's the thing. If you have a Kadabra on your team, Hitmonlee, it's not better than either of these two, but Hitmonlee is busted because you can get it as soon as you get to Celadon, because you can get the T right away, go to the gym, fight the dojo master, and if you have a Kadabra or you have like something else to deal with the high levels that his Pokemon are at that point in the game, you can get a Hitmonlee. It is so good. It has great special defense. It has decent speed. It has super high attack. It gets high jump kick, which is not as good as it was in Gen 1, where you only took 1 HP if you missed, whereas now you take like the full brunt of the blow. But Hitmonlee is so good. Hitmonlee is by far the best fighting type. Like, the combination of high jump kick and its super high attack stat, again, it just rips Lorelei to shreds. Honestly, it rips Erica to shreds, despite her having a bunch of poison types. It rips Blaine to shreds. And, like, the only trainer that you don't want to use it against is Sabrina and Agatha. All the other Pokemon, all the other trainers, it just carves them like a knife. So good. Hitmonchan. At the top of, actually, I'm gonna put it blah. Hitmonchan is not worth giving up Hitmonlee. You can get the elemental punches, which would be cool if it had a special attack stat over 35, which actually I might be overselling it. What is its base attack? Where is it? Hitmonchan. Base 35 special attack. 105 base attack, 110 base special defense, like, pretty good. It gets Brick Break and Mach Punch to take advantage of them. It's just not worth giving up Hitmonlee for the elemental punches and Mach Punch. It's not anywhere close to worth it. If the punches were physical, Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan would both be great because they would cancel each other out, because you can't have one and the other. But Hitmonlee just suffers from the physical special split not being a thing yet. Lickitung. One of the worst Pokemon in the game. You have to get it through trade. It's a pain in the butt to get. It has bad stats. It has a decent move pool. It's just so underwhelming and serves no purpose. There are so many other normal types that are way better. Coughing. I'm going to put it right next to Grimer. It's basically just the physical bulky version of Grimer. You get it too late for it to really be useful, but it has good enough stats where it's like, okay, I can make this work towards the end of the game, maybe. But yeah, just nothing really doing there. It's better in other generations when you can get it earlier and get it better moves. Rhyhorn. I'm going to put it at the top of decent. So its stats are a little bit better than Golem's, but you don't get it until Fuchsia City. Where, I mean, yes, it's still useful against Blaine and against Koga, but it just, like, it comes too late to really be a great Pokemon. Like, Geodude can be used against Lieutenant Surge. If you could use Rhyhorn against Lieutenant Surge, it would probably be right next to Golem. But you can't. Like, it evolves too late, you get it too late, you get it in the Safari Zone, it's just not what you want. Speaking of not what you want, Chansey, if this was Gen 1, it would be higher, because its special stat is actually good, and its HP stat is obviously colossal, and physical attacks are not as usable as special attacks in Gen 1, but this is Gen 3, where they have rectified some of their mistakes. Chansey gets killed by physical attacks. Its special attack is not good. It's not even close to good. It's not usable. And just in general, it doesn't compute. It doesn't have any use beyond just absorbing hits and then doing nothing back. Like, there isn't a good use for Chansey in these games. Tangela. You need Surf to get it. It's kind of outclassed by other grass types. I'm going to put it at the bottom of decent, because it does have decent stats, and it does have the moves that can make it work. It's just, unless you, like, really want to use a grass type against Sabrina, and you don't want to use Exeggutor, there's really not a huge reason to use it. But if you want to use it because its design looks good, or whatever, it's usable. It's decent. Like, you can make it work. It's just not great. Kangaskhan. Ooh, this is a tough one. I'm gonna put Kangaskhan I'm gonna put it right here. Good stats. Good stats, for sure. Good move pool. Dizzy Punch. Strength. Body Slam. You can give it utility moves, but it doesn't really take advantage of them all that well. And they're just better normal types. That are better equipped to dealing with the things you deal with after the Safari Zone. So it's just really not, like, it's just not great. It's decent, it has good stats, but for what it is, it's not really that worth it. Unless you really want to use it, which is why it's kind of what decent is. Like, it's not great, it's not super useful, it's outclassed, but if you really want to use it, you will definitely be able to easily make it work. Seadra, because you can't get Kingdra, is going to go at the top of Bleh. It has decent special attack. It gets Poison Point, but at the end of the day, plenty of other better water types that you can get earlier, that have better moves, that have better stats. It's not really all that useful. And it doesn't stand out. Goldeen. No, it's awful. So Sea King doesn't have good special attack, which you need as a water type. Has good physical attack, which it can't really take advantage of. Like, it gets Horn Attack and probably Mega Horn at, like, level 60 or something. Just really, for when you get it, just doesn't... There's not really a reason. Okay, Starmie. Ooh, okay, see, here's a Pokemon that has a reason to be used. I'm going to put it right below the starters. Starmie, you get it early enough to where you can use it. You can give it Surf, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, and Psychic, and it's a monster sweeper. It is super fast. It has a great special attack stat. It's useful in plenty of battles from when you can get it. It's useful against Blaine, Giovanni, Koga. Like, you can make Starmie work for sure. For sure. It's not quite as good as Squirtle just because you don't get it that early. It's not quite as powerful as Alakazam, but a very, very usable Pokemon. Mr. Mime, it goes at the bottom of great. So you can't use it until after Misty, because it's a trade with Abra. Alakazam is generally better. In pretty much every way. Mr. Mime is definitely more specially bulky, and can learn Thunderbolt, and gets double XP, if that's kind of how you want to roll. But it's just not quite as good. It's not fast. Its special attack isn't quite as good, but it gets good utility moves. It's got good bulk. It is definitely worthy of being in the great tier. You can definitely make Mr. Mime work very well. Scyther doesn't get good stab. Well, it gets good flying stab. You can get it wing attack or an aerial ace, which are fine. Just for when you get it, it's really not super worth it. Like, it's kind of unique. It's like a fast, slashy attacker, with a good attack stat. If you could get Scizor, it would maybe be higher, because then you have the option of whether or not you want to use Scizor or Scyther, because they actually have the same base stat total, which is crazy because one evolves into the other. Like, they're not separate forms, but I guess they really couldn't have done that in Gen 2. But yeah, they have the same base stat total despite one evolving into the other, which is like a cool tidbit about Scyther and Scizor. But anyway, not great, but not bad. Just kind of doesn't serve a huge purpose. Jinx. So Jinx is going to go at the top of decent. Actually, no. It goes to the bottom of great. Very fast. Great special attack. It is only available through trade, like Mr. Mime, but again, you can slap Ice Beam and Psychic on it, and actually, it goes pretty hard. On trainers like Erica, Koga, Giovanni, Lance. I'm going to put it higher. I'm going to put it above the starters. Just because you don't get it right away. It's a trade evolution. It is what it is. But still, very, very good. Very underrated Pokemon. Definitely would recommend a Jinx if you've never tried it. Electabuzz goes right along with the other fast electric types. You can't get until the power plant. However, it is the strongest of the trio that you see there: Raichu, Electrode, and Electabuzz. If you could make it into an Electivire, then, it's probably in the great tier, but you can't. It's just not available early enough, and yeah. It's decent. Again, fast electric type, just not really. It's not better than Magneton, which is kind of what it comes down to. Unless you really want the Pokemon to be fast, which in that case you can use the other two. But yeah, Magmar goes at the bottom of decent. Actually no, it's better than Tangela. It's better than Drowsy. It's better than Poliwag. It's probably better than Scyther, but it's not better than Sandslash. So, good fire type. Again, not available early enough to be any higher than what it is. But good stats, usable against some of the later battles. Just doesn't have good enough stats, or it's not early enough. It doesn't have a good enough move pool. It's kind of just falls a little bit short in all those categories for it to be anywhere higher than what it is. Pinsir is just a little bit worse version of Scizor with no stab. It's going to go at the bottom of decent because its stats are too good to be that low. It gets Brick Break by level up. You can teach it Strength. You can teach it like Seismic Toss. You can teach it Guillotine for some shenanigans. But at the end of the day, it doesn't get good Bug Stab. There isn't really usefulness for Bug types that don't have stab in this game. Even if they do, they're Beedrill and they get destroyed by the psychic types that they would trying to be using their stab moves against anyway. But yeah, no. So just, again, great stats, but can't really take advantage of them. Tauros is going to go right here. what a lot of people like might want to do is use any of these normal types up until you can get Tauros, and then just use Tauros. Tauros is extremely fast, it's extremely strong, its move pool is wide, you can get it Earthquake, you can get it Return, Body Slam, Strength, whatever normal type move you really want. And it is so good. If it were available earlier, like it is in Gen 2, it would probably be in the busted tier. But it's just not available early enough. And it doesn't have, like, broken good stats, but Tauros is an excellent Pokemon. Gyarados. Middle of decent. One of the most overrated freaking Pokemon in all of existence. In Gens 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, yeah, it's pretty good. In Gens 2 and 3, no. It has the Intimidate, it has Thrash, and it has a high attack stat. It's a pain in the ass to get it to a Gyarados. It's just not great. It's decent. It's not, like, it doesn't get Flying Stab of any kind. Water is not a useful type for it. It has 65 base attack, or base special attack. It's just not all that great. It gets destroyed by electric types and rock types. Like, I don't see the huge use for it that other people see. Ditto. Awful. Not worse than Onix. Or Chansey. But really, just, it's a gimmick. It is what it is. You transform, you take a turn to transform into things. I don't think you can get its hold items in the main game. I could be wrong. Even still, they're not all that useful. You have to do way too much research to make this Pokemon work. It's a gimmick. It requires a turn of setting up, in which the opponent has a turn of attacking you or setting up for themselves. Just not really viable. Vaporeon. Excellent water type, available much earlier than the other water types. I'm going to put it right above Squirtle as the best water type in the game. Yeah, I can say that looking at the thing. The only drawback from Vaporeon is that you can't use Jolteon alongside it, but a core of Vaporeon and Magneton, or Vaporeon and Raichu, is going to do a good amount of work. Vaporeon has an excellent special attack stat. It is super bulky. It can learn Ice Beam. It gets good utility moves. You can teach it Surf. There's really no going wrong with Vaporeon. You can get it in Celadon City. You probably want to wait to evolve it though, just because it doesn't really get good water moves. Like it's a little bit of a waiting game to get it Surf, but honestly, you can probably get the Water Pulse TM and just teach it that, or maybe it learns Bubble Beam sooner than I think it does. But Vaporeon is excellent. Jolteon is also excellent. It's definitely the best of these fast electric types by a country mile, but it's not quite on the same tier as Magneton. Magneton's still probably the best electric type in the game, just because it doesn't have that steel typing that it can take advantage of for defensive utility, but it is it's probably going first in every battle that it's in. Actually, you know what? I'm going to move it up. I'm going to say it's better than Magneton, just because of how fast it is. If you give it the Thunderbolt TM, it's an excellent Pokemon. Again, its only opportunity cost is not being able to use Vaporeon, but you can use Squirtle, you can use Slowbro, you can use plenty of other water types, and Jolteon is a great complement to them. It doesn't have actually, no, I'm going to move it below, just because it doesn't have the move pool. I'm sorry I'm going back and forth on these two, because it doesn't have the move pool. It's really just Thunderbolt in the box. But yeah, great Pokemon nonetheless. Flareon, bottom of decent. A decent, specially attacking fire type with a huge physical attack stat that, again, it just can't take advantage of. You get it pretty early. It can be useful against Erica if you get the Flamethrower TM. It's just not great. There's no reason to use it above a Pokemon like a Ninetales or a Growlithe or a Charmander. Like, it's just not, it's nothing special. Porygon, top of awful. Actually, might be no top of here's what I'll say. Top of awful if you're playing Leaf Green. Bottom of awful if you're playing Fire Red, because in Leaf Green it's only 6,500 Game Corner tokens. In Fire Red, it's 999 with the 1,000 whatever. It's the maximum amount of casino coins. Like it's so not worth the investment you have to make to get it. Getting that many coins is way better for getting the Bolt Beam Flamethrower TMs. Like, stay away. Honestly, it goes at the bottom for that. Just stay away. Alright. Ammonite. Decent water type. I'll put it right below these two. You just get it too late and at too low of a level for it to be super good. But if you want to use it for the end of the game and teach it Ice Beam and have an Amistar, like, you will enjoy using it. Like, it does have good stats. It's got great special attack. Decent moves for it to take advantage of. Surf is there. You know, it's good. It's decent. It's just not good enough to be great. Kabutops, top of Bless. So it can't take advantage of its physical attack. Really, I want to make sure that it can't learn Rock Slide, because if it can, it will go in decent. Let me just see. Kabutops. It would be. Oh, okay, it can learn Rock Slide. Okay, so I'm gonna put it at the bottom of decent. Again, it's just it gets outclassed by other rock-type physical attackers. It can't really make use of its water typing. It is quad weak to grass. It's weak to fighting. It's weak to ground. Like, it's just, rock types are not great, especially in conjunction with the water typing or the ground typing, but that doesn't hold it back as much. And then its stats and its move pool just, they don't go well together. Like, they're just not good enough for it to be anything but decent. But it's not bleh. It's not bad. Aerodactyl. Pretty underrated, but again, it's still I'm gonna put it here. You still get it at a low level. It has a good typing. For offensive purposes, it is super fast. You can get it Rock Slide, you can get it Fly. It is usable for sure, but you get it late. You get it after you need Surf. And there are better flying types. There are better rock types. So it's just kind of, it's decent. It's near the top of decent. It's just not quite great. Snorlax. Huh. Oh, baby. Is the best Pokemon in these games. I fully believe, despite it being a normal type, that Snorlax, if you give it the Earthquake TM, you give it Body Slam, it runs amok on the rest of the generation. You get it after you get the Poke Flute, which is not super early, but it is so strong. Actually, no. I'm going to put it below Marowak, just because it's not quite that strong. It's not uberly busted strong, but it is useful in every single battle in the game after you get it. There is not a single battle where having a Snorlax is not going to help your team. Snorlax is so good. Its base stats are so good. Its move pool is vast and wide. You can get it Shadow Ball. You can give it Brick Break, Earthquake, Body Slam. It is so good. It's just not quite Marowak with a... No, you know what? Just because of how much of a pain in the butt it is to get the Thick Club, I'm going to put it at the top spot. But absolutely insanely good. Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres. You need Surf for all of them. You might need to... I think you need to have beaten the 7th gym for Moltres, which is gonna hurt it. So Moltres, we're Where do I want to put Moltres? I'm going to put it at the top of decent, just because it is super strong. You can give it Flamethrower, you can give it Fly. It's going to do work. Same thing with Articuno. It's decent. They both don't have a good typing. Fire, Flying, and Fire Ice are not good typings. They get destroyed by Pebbles. But they both have great stats. They're both available at a point where it's not too early in the game, or too late in the game, excuse me, to where it's like, okay, well, this is just not useful for almost any of the game. Because you can beat Blaine, realistically, technically, before you beat a couple of the other gyms. So you can use Moltres. It's not like it's, like, too late. And you can use Articuno. It's not like it's too late. But, not terrific. Decent. So, terrific is Zapdos. Which is actually the best electric type in the game. It's going to go above Dodrio. So Zapdos, you don't get until after Surf, but it runs a muck on the rest of the game except for Giovanni. It is so, so good. You give it the Thunderbolt TM, it destroys things. Drill Peck destroys things. Like, Zapdos is no joke. The only reason it's below the likes of Geodude and Abra is because you just don't get it early enough. Zapdos rakes. And last but not least, Dratini and the Dragonite line are going to go at the bottom of decent. So, the stats are there. If you want to grind it up, you can. But getting this thing and getting it up to a Dragonite, it's just not worth it. There are other ways to deal with what Dragonite is best at dealing with. Like, there are other physical attackers that are better. There are other Pokemon that are better at dealing with Lance. There are other Pokemon that are better flying types. There aren't better dragon types because it's the only one. So if you really want to use a dragon, you can make it work. It's either Game Corner or Safari Zone, which is not early and not a easy time to get. It does have a wide move pool, which actually means it should be higher. Probably right here. But, it doesn't live up to the pseudo status just because you get it too late. It evolves super late, and when you get there, it's good, but it's just not great when you get it to Dragonite. It's just not quite worth it. Alright, so yeah, I'll zoom out a little bit, give you one last look. That is the final tier list, so obviously Mewtwo you can't use. These are the awful Pokemon, there's just no real reason to use them. The blah Pokemon are just kind of not good, not really like any reason to use them, but you can make them work. The decent Pokemon, which are all like, okay, they can fill a role on a team. They might be outclassed, but they can definitely do some solid work. There's the great Pokemon, which are probably going to be the bulk of like a team where you really want to like put the nail in the coffin of your opponent. All good stats, good moves, good typings, good everything for the great Pokemon that you don't get them too late. And then the busted tier Pokemon have defaultly good enough move pools to succeed, can be put into any team and can be the best Pokemon on that team, and can shred through any and all of the battles in Fire and Leaf Green. So this has been the Fire and Leaf Green in-game tier list. Have a great day, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you next time.